Candace Owens panicked after Senator John Kennedy calmly dropped an unexpected truth live on television. Zebra Studio Lights of звездочка Real America звездочка, a Latinic talk show heard from Phoenix, cast a dramatic la over the stage, setting the scene for what was clearly going to be a extakes and unforgettable exchange. The show, known for its direct and unapologetic handling of divisive and national issues, was already buzzing with anticipation. On stage, voucher set in asymmetry 3 for the panelists and 1 for the moderator, Day How, a seasoned broadcaster known for guiding even the most heated conversations. As the crowd turned me of locals and special guests waited in silence, the crew moved quickly behind their scenes. Final adjustments were made. Producers whispered last-minute instructions through a crackling headsets, and the makeup team debated nervous with our favorites. Erman the panelists. However, John Kennedy remained entirely impassed. The senator from Louisiana, known for his plain-spoken wisdom, said unfazed in a offended button that calls with that directed his preference for substance over show. Across from where its own seat, Candace Owens already occupied her seat with her remaining posture, dressed in an elegant black outfit and ready to a calculated confidence. Her smile was paced, polished, and unshakable at least for the moment. Next to her sat Marcus Tate, a respected local community leader who appeared thoughtful and alert, quietly taking in the energy of the room to school and how stepped forward and welcomed viewers. The tension only thickened. He introduced the evening's topic race, justice, and personal responsibility before naming the panelists, Tate, the grassroots advocate, Owens, the bravocity political commentator, and Kennedy, the plain-spoken senator who had gained a reputation for confronting difficult truths the year dawn. As allows rippled through the studio, Kennedy finally took a seat, surveying the room with the steady focus of someone who'd faced every room stanzas. How didn't waste time. He directed his first question to Kennedy, contrasting Owens' used personal choices over to systemic issues with the senator's previous remarks about fairness in the justice system. Kennedy, comment measured, responded that fairness isn't thought about too much, it is not thought about enough. We only pay attention, he said, when Simeone's lie gets caught in the gears. The audience stirred slightly. Owens, however, didn't let the moment linger. She leaned in and fired back. According to her, modern culture encourages victimhood and makes excuses instead of promoting personal accountability. She pointed to her own success story as proof that determination, not systemic bias, defines our outcomes. A full claps echoed from the back of the room, clearly her supporters struck, but Kennedy didn't react. He turned toward Owens, which is expression unshaken, and tested a simple but sharp question. If the system is so fair, he always felt that way. Owens, keeping her smile, insisted she had, seeing the data proves opportunity is for all. She referenced black CEOs, athletes, and entrepreneurs as examples of those who overcame challenges. The audience murmured some nodding, others uncertain. Ken Kennedy leaned forward slightly and asked her not acquaintances one unexpected and surgical. WHY? He asked. Had Owens filed a racial discrimination complaint back in 2007 when she was a teenager in Stanford? Kraniterkat. The studio froze. Chandich's practice smile faltered for the first time. With quiet composure, Kennedy pulled out a folded document from his pocket, slowly and deliberately, like someone handling fragile truth. It was a copy of her complaint, filed with the Stanford Board of Education. She had claimed racial targeting and harassment, and the system had responded with a settlement. He hasn't been accusatory. H.S. Stone remained respectful but unyielding. He simply asked, how do you go from one seeing the system failed you to now telling others their experiences don't matter? Candace tried to dismiss it as irrelevant, ancient history. She argued that she had been a teenager, that she had grown and changed there, and that focusing on race holds people back. Kennedy nodded but didn't let go. He calmly pointed out that she had once needed the system to step in for her and IT hit. So WHY? He asked, should others now be told to ignore what she shares sold? The studio air shifted dramatically. The audience murmured low some gasping, others exchanging glances. Even Marcus started his voice cricket into a subtle but noticeable smirk. Moderator Day How raised his hand to regain control, urging everyone to keep the conversation respectful. Kennedy responded that his звездочка was звездочка being respectful, he was just asking a question. Under the table, Candace Owens' foot tapped swiftly, a small but revealing signal of the storm brewing beneath her polished surface. The chems didn't miss IT. The audience didn't miss IT. And from that moment on, the tone of the debutant Chandish's control of IT was never quite the same. "You think of story," she said, her voice rising with sharpness as if defending a truth she believed he'd been distorted. "I overcame that moment. I didn't let IT define me. That's the message. People should move forward and not dwell on the past." Kennedy leaned back calmly, which his hints resting lightly on the chair, which his voice even and deliberate as he replied that moving forward they is not mean forgetting what happened. "You didn't overcome BUI pretending it isn't real. You overcame because you called IT out." The studio felt smaller, the air heavier, the lights hotter. Marcus Sturt finally joined the conversation, with his tone thoughtful and steady as he said the senator was pointing to something real. That many people have stories like hers, but not everyone gets a settlement or a platform to rewrite IT. Candace gave him a sharp look, but before she could respond, Kennedy continued, "Think exactly. That's the point. You got justice because you spoke up, and now you're telling Cotas their voices don't count. That's not progress. It's schon tradition." Candace opened her mouth. Then shoot IT again. Her jaw visibly tight. The audience leaned in. The production crew behind the glass exchanged quick looks. Hal, the moderator, attempted to get the conversation rolling, suggesting a broader discussion and turning to Marcus for input, but the weight of Kennedy's words held the room in place. Candace, trying to steady herself, smiled tightly and accused Kennedy of making the discussion personal. "I'm talking about principles," she said, "about what works universally. Personal responsibility is for everyone." Kennedy, unfazed, till TTG's hit and replied that principles don't erase history, reminding her she stood up for herself once, and now she tells others not to. The question landed with fires, ripple spreading through the audience. Her polished control cricket slightly as she paused. "For once we thought I am immediate." "Response," producers behind the scenes watched closely, realizing this was the moment the episode would be remembered for. Kennedy didn't press further. He didn't need to, which his presence remained steady. Hal glanced at the studio clock, nervously ending the segment with a promise to continue after the break, but the tension lingered in the room like a chill current as the show returned from commercial. The energy was thick, the audience glued to their seats. The earlier boss replied with a quiet, focused intensity. Holt welcomed was back HES tone cautious and tried to steer the discussion. Candace was rigid, her smile tight and calculated. Honest elaborate on her belief in personal responsibility, she seized the moment to reclaim control. Her voice was firm as she explained that she did not deny challenges, but argued that framing everything as systemic racism traps people in a powerless mindset. She insisted that she succeeded by focusing on her actions and choices, not by blaming the system. Her words, polished and practiced, earned some claps, though the enthusiasm was dimmer than before. She glanced toward Kennedy, almost daring him to respond. Kennedy didn't move, didn't interrupt, simply waited. When Hal invited HES response, Kennedy leaned forward and said he wasn't dismissing hard work, but warned against pretending the playing field is level just because someone like her made IT across. He reminded her of her 2007 complaint, saying she wasn't just making a choice, she was demanding accountability, and IT worked for her. "So why now?" he asked. "Tell others their voices don't matter." The audience stirred, a wave of murmurs moving through the room. Candace, clearly rattled, snapped back that he was forgetting on her past, that she was young and emotional, but that didn't define her. She insisted she'd moved on and so should others. Her tone, once unwavering, now carried a defensive edge. Kennedy, still calm, said nobody was denying her right to move forward, but that moving forward doesn't mean rewriting the truth. He told her she overcame because she named the problem, not ignored IT. The room hushed again, the weight of HES challenge hanging heavy. Marcus stepped in, arguing that when people are told their pain isn't real, we silence the alarm, not empower the alarm. Candace retorted she wasn't silencing anyone, only pushing for focus on real solutions, citing her own story as proof that success is possible. Hal tried to keep the debate moving, asking Marcus for a reply. Marcus acknowledged the challenge's success, but reminded her not everyone starts with the same tools or support. He pointed out that her complaint worked because someone listened, and many today don't get that same chance. The audience clapped louder this time, the momentum shifting again to Kennedy Kotin, emphasizing that kinders didn't just seek a settlement in 2007, she sought accountability, and received the IT. But now she was telling Kotis who raised the same thing, that here making excuses. That's not fair, and deep down, she knows IT. Kinders, visibly frustrated, raised her voice, insisting she wasn't denying the existence of challenges, but she believed in overcoming them as she did. Her words became more forceful, even as the cracks in her polish showed. Kennedy responded gently but firmly, reminding her he wasn't calling her a hypocrite, but asking her not to forget what it felt like to need help. You didn't rise BY ignoring what happened. You rose the BY confronting KT and getting justice, so WHO denies that path to others. The room fell into a silence that only comes when truth lands hard. Hal tried again to pivot toward solutions, but Kennedy stayed focused. Before we solve anything, he said, we need to agree on what's broken. Telling people their pain isn't real just because you're healed isn't leadership, it's erasure. Candace lived the RYY, arms crossed, since she wasn't thinking but encouraging people to rise above the odds. She accused Kennedy of being stuck in the past and to think first Auri as a weapon. Her voice, too sharp, wavered. Kennedy stayed steady. I'm not scoring points. I'm asking WHO you tell a young person going through what you went through that here imagining KT. You know better because you live the IT. The audience clapped again. Firmer this time. The argument graying. Hal looked toward the producers, who were frantically signaling behind the glass. Fuller was at this moment had grown larger than the show itself took days, trying to reassure control, responded with sarcasm. Saying Kennedy was good at this but didn't speak for everyone. Some of us have moved on, she said, and you're stronger because of IT. Kennedy paused. Tenna did. Strength isn't pretending the past didn't happen, he said. Strength is owning IT and to think IT to lift others up, not push them down. Their pale eyes sweltered again, louder than before. Hal raised his hand, trying to regain control, saying they would return after another break. But as the cams pulled back, the tension didn't fade. Candace scanned the audience for support, her confidence shaken, while Kennedy remained seated, comment unmoved, with his words echoing like a challenge not just to her but to everyone watching. When the show returned for its final segment, the audience remained focused, their attention locked. Hal painted with a political calm, but it was clear the tone had shifted. Kennedy, responding to his request for future solutions, said we can't solve anything if we don't first agree on the truth. He emphasized that denying lived experiences in the name of optimism and leadership, it was denial. Marcus nodded. Candace once again defended her stance, but her voice was thinner, her arguments less piercing. She said Kennedy was twisting her words, but the audience wasn't reacting the way it had before. Their applause for Kennedy was stronger now, steady and certain. When he told her she didn't rise by ignoring the system but by calling Katie out, and now others deserve that same right, the message landed. Howard attempted to pull the show toward conclusion, but the message was already delivered. Real America isn't just a ring, a panonity had sparked a reckoning toy.